Welcome to another self-service video brought to you by the Customer Adoption team. In this video, we will discuss the use of the Cost Center Manager Approver node. We will also demo and discuss the master data that's needed to support this approver. We will also look at how to build it in a P2P realm and then wrap it up with a test using an invoice document. Let's go ahead and take a look at the master data that's needed. There are two main pieces of CSV files that would be loaded to support this node. The first one is your user master data, and specifically within the user master data, who the supervisor is and the approval limits that you would set. And I'm using small amounts here, but it could be in the thousands, it could be in the millions, the approval limit amount. The second file is the responsible user file, which is mainly to associate who is the responsible manager for a given cost center. Let's go ahead and jump into the realm and talk about the different components. First thing we'll look at is how to import the user file, and that is the normal way. It's probably automated for you via ITK or some other process. But basically under Site Manager, if you were to enter user and search, then you will see all the related import user, and in the import user file you will see the approval limit column where it can be added and associated to a user. The second one is the responsible user, the responsible manager file is under customization manager. You will see approval process lookup tables. Within that, at the bottom, you should see the responsible manager. You can download to see what data you have in it, and then you can modify it and re-upload it here. These are the two components needed for the actual node. Now let's go look at how to build the node. So under Manage, Approval Processes, and then search on the document where you want to add it. In this case, I did add it on the invoice, but I definitely recommend that you build this node on the invoice reconciliation document and not the invoice document. So you can add the node by clicking on one of these triangles and then add serial if you want it to be in the same series, or add parallel if you want it to have its own row. Once you add the node, you can give it a name, department rule for contracts, description, and then start with the base rule to build the foundational piece first. So this will be to add the actual manager. So in this case, the M Darwish. So adding a condition and adding a field match. And then once you add the field match, you can then select the invoice. But in your case, it would be it could be invoice reconciliation. If you're building a similar rule on a requisition, it would be the requisition, the approvable. And then picking the master agreement out of the box field, and then underneath that master agreement field, the release type. And then under action, you would select add approvers based on accounting entity condition. You will get this popped up here. And then underneath this, check the box that the approval is required, that it's not a watcher, it's a required approver. The field path, you can select the field to pick the department field, and the department field is basically the cost center. And you have to go down this path, which is line items, dot accountings, dot split accounting, dot department. And then check this box that you would process this only if the entity has a manager. Here's where we would put the helper tip that would show up on the node. Everything else is unchecked. So that takes care of the adding the foundational. Now, in order to chain it, under action, you can select chain option, and then you will get this second tab to appear. And then you click on that tab, and then again, I'm adding conditions. I want to make sure that the user has a first active supervisor. I want to make sure that so that every user has a supervisor in order to chain properly, that it is a user, not a group or other form of approvers. And then the chain will stop once the department line item exceeds approval limit of the approver. Under action, pick add supervisor of approver. Again, check that it is a required approval, and then put in the supervisor chain must approve contact invoice helper reason. This completes how to build the node. In order to test it, you can find an invoice document that, or a requisition or an IR document, and go through the process of adding that document into the testing. Once it's added, you just pick it, and then the node will be generated. The nodes will be generated. In this case, the invoice is only for $13, and Mark has approval up to like $3, Robert up to $7, and Chris is up to 100, and that's why it stops at Chris and doesn't continue after that. Chris has enough approval limit for this document. That concludes the demo and the items that we wanted to discuss. Please reach out to your customer engagement executive or Ariba support for any further actions. Thank you.